Welcome again, everyone. Today is Saturday, the 26th of January. Jim, you're on?
I am, yes, sir.
David?
I'm here, Bill.
Great. Okay, so today we're going to concentrate on the reset. Everybody's like, well, when's the reset going to happen? When's the reset going to happen? And we've been telling people it's happening. And Dave, you put a bunch of stuff together for this, so why don't you take it away?
Okay, I'd like to read a piece from Strategic Culture, and then I'll let you guys run with it. It starts, soon there will be a breaking point, not so much militarily as in the nuclear mutual assured destruction doctrine, because that is still valid, but rather it's going to be economically. Of course, the spark will come from the changing the denomination in which oil is sold, namely the U.S. dollar. This process will still take time, but it is an indispensable condition for Iran becoming a regional hegemon. China is increasingly clashing with Russia. China is increasingly clashing with Washington. Russia is increasing its influence in OPEC, and India may finally decide to embrace the Eurasian revolution by forming an impenetrable strategic square against Washington, which will shift the balance of global power to the east after more than 500 years of dominance by the West. Jim, you've said the power is moving east for a very long time. The gold has moved east. Why don't you pick up on this and tell us what you think about the reset, and will this play a part in it?
Well, we've always said, there are two resets, okay? And they're a different variety. One is all of our geniuses in deep state trying to think about what is new money, okay? And there was the idea that new money might be that crypto crap, but I think that the developments from 18,000 back down and pretty well put an end to that, the volatility. When there's a crime, what do? You follow the money. That's all you have to do. You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes. All you need to do is have federal discovery and follow the money trail. And you got and there's such a trail behind any transaction, such even as who bought the puts right before the 9/11 on the airlines, that it takes nothing to find out real people, real who, and real why. But doing the same thing, we've been watching gold in a physical form in a continual move out of North America and out of Europe towards Asia. And the theory or thesis we've operated on is that's not an economic decision, and they're not looking for 3,000 to blow it out and make a profit, even though that's what most people think, believe it or not. Now, that's a policy. But what is the policy based on? Very simply, what you just said, David. The policy says that we're taking the dollar out as far as being the singular currency for contract settlement. It's not only oil. That's the biggest part, but it's contract settlement. What do people write contracts in? If they bought Caterpillar tractors in Africa, what currency is a contract written in? U.S. dollars. So the dollar's control was on two fronts, primarily on oil, but then oil gave it the basis for it to be on commercial contracts. And Russia and China have worked very, very diligently, and we truthfully have screwed ourselves. So we've taken care of cooperating with them. The dollar is falling out as a petrocurrency. And in the 70s, very early 70s, 71, Bill, wasn't it, that the U.S. came off the gold standard. We went by good fortune to the oil standard. Now, if you wanted to take us out, what do you have to do economically? One thing. Take out the standard we're on, and where's the dollar strength? If we're going to go out and flex our muscles in a proxy war to just show the world one more time that there's no military like the U.S., we might be in for a very big surprise between those type of weapons that destroy computers, not people in buildings, and the fact of hypersonic, which means if you can't catch the missile or if you can't catch the glider, you can't kill it. Do we get embarrassed militarily? Our currency loses its backing. Russia and China and those countries that followed their lead follow the money. That's where the strength is. So that's the whole show. One is purely academic, SDRs. I mean, that is the biggest joke. I mean, the fact that they would even let that off their lips is amazing. So there'll be an attempt, as there always is, to kick the can farther down the road, except this time it's going to be like kicking a cement block with your slippers on. It's not going to move. We are in the reset. Wake up like a weatherman. Look out the window before you forecast the weather if you want to avoid embarrassment. So, to the wise talking heads, hey guys, look out the window before you become the idiots of all time. That's my answer.
Well, Jim, I would add to that. You're saying look out the window. If you were looking out the window the last 2 or 3 years, you can see deals that have been made with Russia, with China, regarding oil in non-dollars.
Yes.
And the preparation to go off of the petrodollar, those preparations have gone on since at least 2015 and probably longer than that. So, I agree with everything you said, Jim, and I think that the people are saying when. It's actually been in the works and in process for quite some time.
It's now,
and it's been public.
Okay. Yeah, and it's been out there. It's been hiding in plain sight. Okay, and the world has, to a great deal, fallen as if asleep intelligently, mesmerized by a equity market without foundation, caused by central banks cornering 4 or 5 major stocks, and because of the plunge protection team, which is the same people that have so far successfully been able to create mini bottoms, but not get back to highs. Okay, so the whole thing is falling down, and this is the king when he comes apart. Nobody can put it back together again. The king dollar. So the king dollar is over. And there are some technical reasons why we got this rally. Remember, buyers beget buyers. And then for no reason at all, you get something continuing on the up. The world is changing. The world is headed towards control by the East. And if the Africans could get get their heads around it, they'd find out they in China own all the development of technology in rare earths, rare metals, and raw materials. We are in for a change, my friends, and it is of an enormous structural, long-term basis. And the key is take the backing away from the dollar. And what is the backing? Payments and contracts and oils. And it's been going on now for, as you say, Bill, I'd say it's been in high gear for 3 years. I mean, real high gear, like the last shift.
And that's the end of our standard of living. Well,
because we've got debt and everything, okay? I mean, if we owned a 65-inch TV and paid for it, maybe, you could make it. But tell me who isn't up to their neck in debt. And then what business is not up to its neck in debt. And, there are the guys that are going to make it through, all right, the huge names, but they're not going to make it through as rich as they are now. And I know these people. So, a man with $100 million loses $500,000. They got to take him to the hospital in an ambulance because he's having a heart attack. They got their own special brands of insanity, so their lives are not going to be pleasant. Monumental, historical, irreversible change taking place as we speak. Get safe or get killed. It's simple as that.
Okay, to that, let's add, because, Bill, you've always talked about China and gold. Here's an article from Pravda out of Russia back in 2015, and I'll just read a little bit of it. China saves up to 30,000 tons of gold to topple the U.S. dollar from the global reign. China is waiting for the right moment to remove the U.S. dollar from economic reign. Once the U.S. dollar loses its leadership, China plans to make the yuan the world's first currency. According to the news, China is saving up gold. According to unconfirmed reports, China already has about 30,000 tons of the precious metal. If this is true, it means that China will be capable of bringing the U.S. dollar down in an instant. Well, this is from 2015. So when you guys say it's been in the works, obviously it has. Now, we could argue about, is there 30,000 tons? Is there 10,000 tons? And whether or not Pravda is a reliable source. The real proof of this is people who have done the math on how much gold has been mined out of China and see none leave, along with the buying out of Hong Kong, would lead a thinking person to conclude what Jim and Bill are saying is 100% true, that China is going to use this reset and the gold that they have accumulated to accomplish a new monetary system and basically wash out Bretton Woods. Is Bretton Woods dead?
I think it died a long time ago. But now, officially, yes, it's dead.
Yeah, it died in 1971 in reality.
Well, and now it's taken 60 years, but or 50 years. But now it's actually getting press, okay? As recently as this weekend, last week, the Bretton Woods is history. Well, if that's history, what does it mean? The dollar's history.
Yeah, Jim, let me add, you mentioned in the very first segment, you talked about from a military standpoint, hypersonic weapons, shutting down systems. We're traipsing destroyers, whatever, through the Taiwan Straits. What happens if you wake up one morning, or even in the middle of the day, whatever time, you find out that we've got a couple of major vessels dead in the water?
Yeah. Where are they going without their computers, Bill?
Well, the point being, that then immediately leaks into the dollar.
Now, if we start a war, okay,
that's even worse.
Let's say they hit every place of major strength within that proxy area with the nuclear pulses that blow away every computer, including the guy's watch. And then they come on with hypersonic, and nobody can catch it. You can't stop it. We get embarrassed militarily in a proxy war. But
destroyed financially.
Yeah, it's not coming back, Bill. This is it, okay? King dollar is, truth to be known, just hollow hot air. And there's one level that's kept it together, which is military, and another level that's kept it together is the universal use for contracting, majorly in oil, but in building buildings, okay? In buying goods, in everything. And so that falls away. Here's policy run by two opposing powers. They don't want to take down any more world towers. They'd rather own them. And the easiest way to do that is to bring on an economic crash and buy what you want, because they sure be able to afford it. Gold will decorate these currencies. Don't get the idea it's going to be convertible. It's going to decorate them. The way a Hope Diamond, if you put on a very, not a pretty lady, everybody in a whole dance hall or party is only even looking at the diamond hanging off her neck. Gold will decorate these currencies. They won't make the mistake of making it convertible. And we don't have that decoration. Okay? You know that we can't show what we claim. But then what have we done on everything so far but lie? And now any thinking person is losing confidence in those institutions of the United States which stood for maintaining our Constitution, which means stood for maintaining the rule of law. So we're collapsing in every different direction. The President Pelosi would not be good for the dollar. President Schumer would not be good for the dollar. And that little pretty lady, whatever her name is, the Chavez, I think, or something
Cortez.
like that. Cortez, who wants to take us all to Argentina, is not good for the dollar. You've got to see this whole picture. We have to stop taking pictures in time. Listeners have to understand the world is moving, forming, changing. Okay? Don't take a picture of some statistic that was made up last month. It's not real. Look at the change going on. And look at the change in our youngsters. These guys are a gang of pure, absolute, raving socialists. In my own family. Biggest disappointment of my life. They send them a very high price to an indoctrination school. So who's to blame? I am. I would much prefer, at least one of my daughters is a commercial pilot and a welder. Thank God for that. She can make a living. The change is enormous. Wake up, listeners. It's happened. It's out there. Protect yourself, because there's nothing you're going to be able to do on the day you realize, the world realizes, that we're not conspiratorialists. In fact, we're the absolute opposite of it. We see reality, not non-reality. And in seeing reality, we've learned that we've got to take care of ourselves, because, look, that thing with the arrest this weekend, I mean, there was no reason for 17 FBI cars to get this guy stoned. They didn't have to call at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Well, and no reason for CNN to be there either.
Well, that proves a point, doesn't it?
Yes.
And whether CNN realizes it, it proves everything that's being said about it.
Yes.
Okay? It's a tool of the deep state. So, are you comfortable, anyone listening right now, that if you get on the wrong side of the government, that you're not going to get at 6 o'clock, or you're going to get at 2 o'clock, drag him out of the house in his pajamas or naked? I mean, at least they let Stone go. He was ready for that, sitting there in his jeans and his polo shirt for them to arrive. I mean, this is beyond belief. We're killing ourselves every way we can. If national suicide was a possibility, then that's exactly what we're doing. And if we're accusing the powers in Argentina and of having a coup, and if the Russia's accusing us of supporting a coup, take it any way you want it, what do you think's happening here? We're in the middle of a coup.
Yeah, no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
We are right in the middle of it. Wake up, open your eyes, get your head out of the ground. Or you know what. Okay? And the seriousness of this is the most serious thing anyone has discussed or lived through in this life or the lives of their relatives in this country. This is not a slight problem with a recession or a currency change or the price of gold going to 3,000. This is the big kahuna.
Everything changes.
Yeah. And the point that I really, and you make it so well, Bill, if you're not strong today, you're not going to get strong tomorrow. Okay? Food is going to become a currency. Liquor will be a currency. Cigarettes will be a currency. The dollar won't be a currency. Okay? Oh, it's a thing that will be exchanged. They're never going to get rid of it. It's going to be around all the time. But there's no cryptocurrency that's going to be a standard. Just get that nonsense out of your mind, because that's all that is, total nonsense. We're going to go backward gold due to a price that is beyond your concept, most people's ability to conceive. Will decorate the Eastern currencies, and business will follow as it has on the mega scale, the strength of gold. He who has the gold makes the rules. We don't even have to have a blowout war with boots on the ground. All we need is things that you can't catch and weapons that don't blow you up or your house up, but blow up your computer, the telephone you're using, your 65-inch TV, your nice beautiful car.
Jim, I wrote, I forget whether it was Monday's or Tuesday's article or the late week article. In my opinion, all you got to do is see a 14 handle, and the window of being able to buy and actually have real gold delivered to you will be in the process of completely shutting. A 14 handle, and then you're going to have people saying you'll have a rush into gold, and at the same time, people who think they have gold will find out they don't have it.
And since the end of the last market in 1980, March, I've had only one plan, and that is to stand upon the biggest mound of gold you could possibly stand on, and not to sell it cheap, not to sell it. Okay? Produce it does not mean you have to sell it. Why? You got the greatest collateral in the world. And you can pay your bills with your collateral and just watch what you have do nothing but go straight up to levels that are inconceivable. That was my plan a lot of years ago. That is my plan today. And I'm on a mission. And a mission says you fight like hell every time you have to, anywhere you have to accomplish what you've decided is the goal, what is the mission. That's going to turn out to be absolutely true, and that will be a nice legacy to leave around.
David, what else you got?
Okay, well, let's move on, because this is an old story, but it dovetails with what we're talking about here. Because, excuse me, not only is China stockpiling gold, but their citizens are. I know, other than people on this phone conversation, I know of nobody stockpiling gold. I have a couple friends who I have convinced over the years to stockpile silver. When I say stockpile, every time they get a paycheck, they pick up silver and they put it in a safe. But I mean, as far as real money, I know of nobody stockpiling gold. You know, Sam Zell all of a sudden is a gold lover, which is a very interesting thing because he's never invested it in his life.
He's doing it for the wrong reasons.
Well, but in any case, let's move this along. What we come back down to is I'd like to just touch on Professor Mark Skidmore, who was on Greg Hunter again last weekend. And what Greg was re-interviewing him about is the fact that the Washington Post and the New York Times basically did a hack job story on this missing $21 trillion. I mean, we're talking about an enormous amount of money. And as I said to Bill before we got on the conversation or recording, is Does the public realize this is probably not, this is bigger than the Kennedy assassination in the concept of this proves there is no rule of law in your country. We do not have a constitution. When a professor, an economics professor, could prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's $21 trillion not accounted for. It's gone. And you can't get mainstream media to touch it. They talk about it, oh, well, it's a plug error on an accounting, program. And we're talking about huge money here, because when you throw that in with the 21 trillion present deficit, the 50 trillion that the poor saps who call themselves Americans have paid into Social Security, as I said to Bill, that's not the government's money. That's money that every person got up and went to work for. The government, the shadow government, took a piece of it out of their paycheck, took another piece of it out of the employer's check, put it in the lockbox Al Gore talked about. And when we looked in the lockbox, there's an IOU. And my response to Bill was, Bill, back when you were a broker, if I gave you $600,000, $6 million and said, I'm not ready to trade with it, throw it in a money market when I'm ready to trade in the future, we'll use that money. And I called Bill up in the future, and he says, well, the money's not really in the account, Dave. I put an IOU in there. How long would it be before Bill went to jail, Bill?
Overnight. Immediate.
Well,
yeah, and Dave, this is when people will obviously wake up when they find out that, directly affects them, that it's all been a lie.
Are we going to have a yellow vest moment?
No, because, we have to have something, but yellow vests are expensive. Maybe red hats. Hey, Bill and David, let's not walk away from that word, a plug, okay? Because the listeners need to know what a plug in accounting means. Well, we got accountants in my office, and I've never seen people raise hell over such little money in my life. I mean, they sit there working like mad over $5 or $50. Now, a plug means you don't work over or spend time trying to find it. You simply invent it. So if the books don't balance by $100, you invent it. Now, whatever our lovely sources of faultless news are telling the public is that somebody invented 21 trillion. And they're so damn stupid, they don't even know. They're admitting the fact that what has been in Greg's interviews is solid truth. They're confirming what the professor said. But they're saying, it's just a plug. Okay? A plug means they made up 21 million trillion they can't find. So there's no question that this kind
Jim,
of money is gone.
They can find it because you can follow the money.
Sure.
But everything is a matter of national security, so you're not allowed to look.
Look,
you're not allowed the information.
If you want to be corrupt, here's what you do. You don't hold a gun up to protect a major corporation, just like the old protection racket. You steal it from the government, especially if you are the government. Why? Because nobody can see the books. And to ensure nobody can see the books, what have they done in the last 6 months?
National security.
Exactly. Now you can't see it because of violate national security. Stealing from the Treasury, in whatever form the money is infinitely the more perfect crime than getting a brown paper bag from Big Louie on Saturday. And if that money came to you, if they haven't already realized it, they got to get rid of it. So the ultimate money laundry, they missed. It was physical gold. Now what are they going to do? How about El Chapo? and his 50-gallon drums of $100 bills. I mean, the drug business is going to find out they've wasted their time. Those $100 bills, you might as well have confetti money. The government doesn't need to take them out of circulation. They're going to be taken out of circulation by the product of the reset, by hyperinflation. So it was a little bit funny that the real bad guys and the guys who are still real bad because they've stolen from the people have all stolen trash. They've stolen paper. It's not money. It's currency. And if it's not money, it has no ability to be a storehouse of value. End of argument. Ha ha, El Chapo.
Okay, well, let's move this along. We're down running out of time here, and I'd like to just stay on this topic 1 second longer because this is out of Bloomberg just the other day. A Pentagon campaign to keep the public in the dark. Reports that were never classified before are suddenly considered top secret. And President Trump doesn't much care for efforts to monitor and report on wasteful Pentagon spending and other military inefficiencies. This month, he ordered Acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan to withhold battlefield reports from inspector generals in order to keep the information from becoming public. The public means the enemy, Trump explained. Those reports should be private reports. The orders doubled down on a worrying trend at the Defense Department since Trump took office towards increasing unnecessary secrecy. Well, if the budget's classified, if the operations classified, if the programs are classified, do we live in a democracy? Jim?
Of course not. Of course not. And it never has been. Okay? In Greece, only 2% of the people were able to vote. They even where democracy was invented, it was a hoax. We are not living in a democracy. I voted for Trump. I'll tell you, I'm not afraid. I'll even wear a red hat. It probably lasts about 10 minutes. But what good was my vote? A coup's taken him out. He can't do anything. He'll never get any legislation through anywhere, and every one of his presidential orders will be attacked instantaneously. His only hope is that it takes long enough to go through court, and that the judges that he's put in might, in fact, give them a victory. But when he goes and calls for an emergency to build a wall, that's going to court in 36 seconds. But it will take a year or two to adjudicate. And by the time it adjudicates, the guy will have his wall. And if he takes funds away from that already out there, there's no economic impact to it. So, unfortunately, it's not going to pull the economy. So, there's a big hole in the whole plan that even Trump hasn't figured out. Now, the risk he takes is he's only president for 1 term or 2 terms. The next one is national emergency. Bill, you give me all your guns, and David, I know you don't have any because you claimed you never had any. You were in the business, but you never had a gun. President, whatever my name is, Cortez, have decided that it is morally wrong for anyone to carry something with them that has the ability and was invented for the taking of life. Therefore, I consider this a national emergency, and now I would like everybody to hand over their guns. They've got a day and a half, and then we're coming for them. And we're starting with you legal citizens that actually have licenses to carry guns. Okay? Because
that's the declaration of a civil war.
And we have your name, your address, and it's going to happen. But who's out there that wants to prevent it? I mean, what happens if somebody comes running into your house like Stone? Okay, think about it, David. If you weren't prepared for it, you're in your upstairs, you're asleep. Your dogs start going batshit. Okay, you hear all kinds of noise. Somebody yells, "Police!" Maybe it's one of the new policemen with a Mexican accent. You grab a hold of whatever artillery you got set up. Of course, you know that's your end. You know your dogs are done. And you resist. Well, the spirit of resistance exists in Bill Halter, and it certainly exists in you, David, but it doesn't exist in many other places. Nobody's going to have a Boston Tea Party now, okay? This is a nation of snowflakes or semi-snowflakes. There's not going to be a revolution. They're going to kill us.
I got to disagree with that.
They're going to kill us. And that's the revolution.
Agree with that. Half the nation owns guns, and that half is not going to turn their guns over. You may have some people, that will say, "Here, take my guns," but I don't believe in any way that if guns became illegal in the United States, the masses would turn their guns in. That would be, like I said, a declaration of a civil war.
Well, I think it would be declaration of slaughter, okay? But that's just, we have to have disagreements, or we're not human beings.
Right.
I just don't think that, that we have enough functional militias. I mean, who's going to come? Who am I going to call up on the telephone, and we're going to set up a barrier and hold off the local troops, okay? I just think it'll take us out. If they take us out one by one, but they're going to take us out. And so the real risk of using a declared national emergency to build a wall is what? President Cortez using a declaration of a national risk to take your gun or to make you a criminal because you have it, or worse, dead if you try and use it. We're destroying ourselves. We don't, there's no intention of China or Russia to destroy us physically. We'll take care of that.
They're letting us do it ourselves, exactly.
Yeah, it's economically, they're going to take us out, and they're going to make it impossible for us to use high-tech weapons on them because they control rare earths and strategic metals, and because we have no Africa policy. Except Mrs. Clinton being over there telling the Africans to go tell us to go screw, which is exactly what her speeches were. And, the police are militarized. I mean, a little town like we got. You know what's coming up to the front door, don't you? Anti-personnel. Okay? I mean, you got to really realize, Bill, we are in dire shape, and I don't have a solution. Do you? Can we change this?
No.
Okay. You know that I'm going. You know that my dog Angel's good as gone, and I'm going to take out whoever took her out, and 10 guys are going to instantaneously take me out. Okay. Okay, I'm willing for that because what the hell? I'm 78. Who cares? But I feel sorry for our grandchildren living in the socialized world as serfs for the Chinese and the Russians. Can you imagine that? Where socialism was born, they're using it as a weapon to take us out. You think all these universities teach that crap and it's not organized? You believe that, and you'll also believe that the people that came up from Honduras, all showered and clean and nice and fed and fat, actually walked. You got to be nuts. We continue to wake people up to take care of themselves, but can we stop this, guys? It's too far gone. And Bill, I mean, you're a heroic guy. But Texas isn't Texas anymore. It's still the most conservative place on earth. But have you been to Austin lately?
Let's not talk about that.
Well, what I mean is, they're, even the place where men stood back to back at the Alamo, gave the finger to the Mexicans and said, "Come get us." All right? That kind of spirit exists, but not in the many, rather in the few, and mostly in people who live in areas of this wonderful country where self-reliance has remained a pillar of society. And now they're attacking the churches. And now they're attacking the Christians. Okay? I mean, look what's going on. Open your eyes.
Let's do that a minute. Because, again, we talk about, do we have a constitution? Are we a true democracy? We've gone around, and again, everybody knows I'm not a fan of Trump's. I don't hate him, don't love him. I just think he's a politician. So it's not like I'm blowing the guy's horn. But for 2 years, all we have heard about is how Russia may or may not have, depending on who you listen to, interfered with our election. First off, I personally believe it's a bunch of hooky, but we could all go there. People could think what they want. But what are we doing in Venezuela? I mean, we're talking about interfering in other people's business.
Exactly
we're down there
what you say Russia did in our election.
Well,
Russia says we're doing a coup. We're supporting a coup.
We are.
And then up here, we got, I mean, the whole thing is such a contradiction.
Well, and we're doing it publicly. We're not even
doing
it covertly.
Hey, listen, I'm going to swear myself in as president, okay? Then get Russia to support me. What's the difference? Then on the other side, you find a bus driver who's pissed off and you make him president. I mean, what a mess from one of the wealthiest and best countries in that part of the world. So you think we can't have that kind of trouble? Just look at what's running the Democratic Party. Okay? There is economic sin. It's called socialism. It doesn't work. All it does is make people the absolute serfs.
And Jim, the only reason Russia and China care and the United States cares is because Venezuela has huge oil reserves, and they also
absolutely.
have a fairly sizable reserves in gold.
And remember, the beef used to be pretty good, too.
Hey, you're thinking Argentina. That's Venezuela.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Venezuela, forget the beef.
Yeah, don't cry for me, Argentina. I'm tied up with the movie. Sorry.
Right. Well, and again, Venezuela just signed contracts with Russia allowing them to mine the gold and oil. So automatically, we have to get involved. And as Ron Paul said, what business? Where in the Constitution of the United States do we have the authority to decide who does or doesn't run that country? We can't figure out who's running our country. It appears the deep state, who I refer to, and let's just use John Bolton and Pompeo at this stage of the game, who's running this country's policy? I mean, we've covered the fact that we're spread thin. We're damn near as close to Rome as Rome had ever been. And here we are running around in Latin America telling the leader who was elected that he can't be the leader. The military is backing the present leader. Russia has already moved the Wagner Group, which is their Blackwater, into Venezuela. Are we going to get into an open conflict in Venezuela? Would that make any sense, Jim?
The question is, would it make any sense to whom? Okay? To a thinking person, to ourselves, and to our country, and to our purpose, and to our principles, the answer is it makes no sense. To the deep state, and to who the deep state really is, makes great sense.
Yep.
Okay? We've lost the spirit of who we are. Okay, there was a time when if you put your hand on a guy's gun, your life was toast. What do you think started the bloody revolution in the United States? They tried to take away the guns. But then men stood back to back and said, give me liberty or give me death, and they meant it. They really meant it. And there was a spirit here that there's never been like in any country in the history. And this was founded on the principles of divinity. Okay. And how about what? Where has that gone to? So we're under attack in every single way possible, and it's almost as it seems as if all the youngsters, and let's call them up to 45 and to 50. Okay? I'm sorry to embarrass you in case you're near that. But it's not 25-year-olds anymore. The social, political correctness is a disease that affects infects a lot more than half of our nation. There are a few of us who might prefer to find out what comes next, rather than being here, and who might, like you, Bill, stand shoulder to shoulder with somebody. But we're too far away from each other, so there's not three of us. And again, we could never find David if we wanted to. This is not the same place. This is not where the Alamo was. Okay, this is not the same country as it was in 1950. We've turned into trash.
I would say it's not the same country that it was in 2001.
I know, but
for
I
obvious
don't want to go
reasons.
that way. Yeah, I didn't want to go that way. Okay, but where are the heroes? Where are the statesmen? Show me, please. Where's the person in Washington that will stand up and as a Democratic senator and say, this is bullshit. Our job is not to restrict. Our job is not to interfere. Our job is to bring what we think is sense to the table. The political system has collapsed. Trump might not be the greatest man on earth, but he had a chance to take care of it. I think that chance is falling away very quickly. And I just hope he doesn't use a national emergency, because that was going to come back and whack us in the face like nobody's business. And he's going to. Because what else do you think Pelosi is going to build a wall for? And that guy Schumer with his glasses hanging off the end of his nose, man. That guy, there was a joke, and I think we published it. This is a picture of a man who took NyQuil and DayQuil at the same time.
Well, Jim, a national emergency, along with a mass of arrests, that would do the trick.
If it happened.
It's got to happen.
And we do have a national emergency because a very rich person, the name of whom we all know, is paying for the airplane tickets and the bus tickets and the truck companies to bring up to create the national emergency on our southern border. And it was already there, but it was more national emergency as the drug industry than anything else.
Well, David, we got about 10 minutes left. What do you got to finish this out with?
Well, I'd like to look at a piece that Eric Sprout put out, and I'll read a little bit of it. We believe that gold bullion and gold mining equities may be poised for a multi-year uptrend. Gold bullion beat U.S. equities for the month of December, the fourth quarter, and the full calendar year of 2018. We suggested throughout 2018 that the catalyst for gold's next important rally would be growing recognition that the Fed's current tightening cycle has reached a conclusion. To that, I'd like to add, the Fed has artificially kept gold prices down, which to me has been a gift to China, Russia, India, Turkey, to all the countries collecting it. So that gift was to Wall Street, because it allowed the Wall Street bubble to be blown. At the same time, they screwed the average citizen of the United States by convincing them to stay out of gold while they made it dirt cheap, and the countries that wanted to collect it have been scooping it up like candy. Jim, has the large European money, whether you want to call it the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the old Sinclair families, have they decided to allow China to willingly collect all this gold over the past umpteen years, because the plan all along is to flush the United States now that everybody in this country is so indebted that they can't make it more than a week or two without a paycheck, which was proven by the government shutdown. Have they? You
want a simple answer from somebody in the bloodline?
Okay. I know what you're
yes.
Go ahead, please.
Yes. Okay? They pick the winners, man. And they have no loyalty. Hey, listen, my father would go to a football game. He'd be on Fordham's side, okay? Fordham start to lose. They were going to go to the Rose Bowl if they won, and he starts screaming, from the rose bowl to the toilet bowl, and we're on the Fordham side. Now, does that tell you anything? Okay, there's no loyalty with the old European money. There's only one loyalty: themselves.
Winning.
And yes, they will throw in with the winners as long as they think they can have some control and build further control with the winners.
Well, guys,
so
we actually got to see that.
So take it from the genetic line. Your answer is, yeah, they were no good then. They're no good now.
We got to actually see that publicly, and I forget the year. I'm going to say it was 2003, maybe 2004, when Rothschilds packed up, dropped out of being a part of the London gold fix, and walked away from the short side of gold. I mean, they go
with the winners, and they're on the right side.
Right,
okay?
And they knew they could see the ultimate failure of suppressing gold.
And how about holding trillions of dollars? How could anybody be so dumb? Trillions of pieces of paper rather than a limited standard. What would you rather have? Paper or a standard?
Jim, I think one way to look at that, I think the best way to look at that, and I've actually thought about writing an article on this, what would you rather bet on? Would you rather bet on gold or would you rather bet on a government? Who's going to win every single time throughout all of history? I mean, going back as far back as recorded history, has any government over time, has any government won out over Mother Nature or gold as money?
No, but the new wrinkle is don't make it convertible. Decorate yourself with it. Think about that.
Right, I agree.
Okay?
But that's
make it convertible, somebody else gets it.
That's a pro-gold move, though, Jim. You're accumulating gold and you're showing it, I have it, and this is what supports our currency.
Yeah, and you're making deals in it, too.
Right.
You know, to prove the fact of what you have, that there will be contracts made in gold and payments made in gold. And gold will move on a huge payment scale. But it will never be convertible because the only way that you convert something like that is you got to win in the deal. Okay? And that's not something we do quite often. Listen, we've been bullies. But what if we're not strong enough anymore? Okay, you break the strength of a nation by breaking the backbone of courage. You break a currency very simply by taking it out of the function of contractual settlement. That's the petrodollar is dead. Nobody on earth is going to argue that one. And therefore, what else is dead? The dollar. And why did it go up recently? Well, it got helped, but, so Richard the Good was with his last and great revelation. It was right. The synthetic dollar short. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Make a last comment here about reset 1, reset 2, because I don't think we've made it clear, but reset 1 is man-made. Reset 1, the plan was and maybe still is the SDR replaces the dollar for settlement. And obviously that fails because you're looking at a bucket of turds that make up the SDR.
Total joke. Okay?
And then reset 2 comes...
Too stupid. Yeah, you're right. You just nailed it. You let the cat out of the bag, but it's about time it came out.
Well,
you're absolutely right.
Reset 2 is a Mother Nature. It's in tune with Mother Nature.
Yeah, doesn't that last? Isn't that the more powerful?
Yes.
Okay, there you are. There's reset 1 and 2. And my feeling is by the time they try one, two will happen within days. Because one is so weak. You can't cure Ebola by getting Ebola.
I like that.
And that's where we're headed. That's where we want our listeners to be courageous and take care of themselves. But understand that unless there are many working together, it's going to be a pretty hard time physically in the transition. And I'm loaded here with crappy food. I'm going to die from the stinking food. Okay? They won't have to get rid of me. After about a year and a half, I'll just fall apart like a cookie. That stuff will kill you. I mean, look, if oatmeal lasts 25 years, you think it's good for you?
Hey, Jim, I've got a question for you, and I'm sure other this is something on people's minds. And I wrote an article yesterday or Thursday speaking of the speed at how quickly things change, and I can envision, I don't know, a 2-week period of time or a 4-week period of time, and harken back to 1987. I mean, we saw it then. We saw it in 2008, where you could see the markets drop. And when I say markets, I'm not talking just stock markets. I'm talking about equities, debt, treasuries, the dollar, where markets really take a shellacking, 30%, 40%, even 50% or more over a really tight time frame of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. That would bring the man-made reset. We get some type of bounce from there. Then you get the real reset. And I think it's important that by the way, if readers have not, or if listeners have not read that article, I think it's really important to understand how quickly things can change. For instance, we're talking today, it could be 2 weeks from now that the entire financial landscape is unrecognizable.
I'd rather have a steak for dinner than 25-year-old oatmeal, but it looks like 25-year-old oatmeal is coming. Gold, last man standing, okay? If you've been fortunate enough to be able to choose where you want to live, make that choice the way David has, and don't let anybody know. We're in serious trouble to which there is no functional answer. Believe me, spend some time over in China, and you wouldn't want to be there. Okay, no matter how strong we were. We have the best place in the world, but we've destroyed it. We had the greatest thing in the world going. Bill, if it wasn't for the protection, the PTT, what you just said you would have had 2 weeks ago.
We would have had it years ago.
Do you think a computer, just when they turn it off or pull the plug, what's the next price? There isn't any. I mean, you'll have something that was $2,000 at $1, if it's lucky.
Well, we saw that actually with a Chinese company where the CEO had margined his personal stock. The loan got called, and the stock was down 89% in 30 minutes. Well,
it probably never deserved to be 89% higher, and that was what he was doing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
And does social media have anything of value in the real world? I mean, if people weren't such gossipy, interested in other people's business, what would social media do? If you didn't have a very bad ego problem, why would you be taking pictures of yourself and putting them up on social media?
Well, Jim, social media really doesn't have anything to do with, egotistical people who want to show, look at me, this is what I'm doing. Social media is entirely about gathering information.
Oh, yeah.
For the state.
That's how it's used. Oh, yeah. But it's the dumb people who give it to them.
Right.
Okay? Hey, you don't have to have, you don't need, probably the worst job in the world today would be a spook because you're unnecessary. Okay? All the information is out there in cyberspace. Just hire 9,000 computer engineers. What the hell do you need with the trading department, Goldman Sachs? What are they up to? I really would love to know. 9,000 geeks. I can't even imagine it. So,
well, guys, let's wrap this up, and I'll get it posted, and we'll see. We'll be back again next week.
Yeah, because things are changing quick here. The collapse is completely underway.
We hope that we'll be back next week, because nobody's stopped anybody from coming into two of our houses tonight at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, they need a drill to get into Dave.
Yeah, well, they can't find him, but they could,
or one of those tunnel machines.
The truth is, what the hell does that thing? It means Stone's a clown, okay, and all that stuff. But we have a coup, and the coup has the real military on its side, except the military is the DOD and the FBI. The internal military is on the side of the coup.
I think
and
I
with
referred
that
to
in
them.
mind, and with that in mind, I love you guys. I can't wait till next week.
All right. Well, hopefully the jackbooted thugs don't come and get us, but that's always a possibility. I realize it.
Yeah.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Listen, I'm an old geezer. Who gives a shit? I'm going to go out in glory. Okay.
Guys, have a great week.
I sure will. And it's wonderful talking with you. It's the high point of my week, I'll tell you.
Take care.
Right.
I know. Get a life. Okay.
Have a good